I mean, you could have stayed in, it could have been nothing, right? It could have died
Yeah.
as you predicted. And now it's this, multi-billion dollar phenomenon. What do you feel when you look at what UGG has become today?
Oh, I love it. I sold out at the right time in a lot of ways. Started the company, I conceived it, I gave birth to it, because everything starts with conceiving it, then the first action is the birth, and then it goes through this infancy and then toddling. Every company goes through this. There is no overnight success. Every single company goes through this. I went through all those horrible early, infancy days. Remember the bad advertising and the, all that
Yeah,
crap that I went through. And I look at when I had to sell it as walking my daughter down the aisle, and I knew that they would then go out into the world and have babies and, multiply. And so I was witness to the most of the lifetime of us.
I'm Garrett Wong, and this is the Investing to Win podcast. How do you define success, and what does winning look like for you? Welcome to the Investing to Win podcast, where we bring you incredible stories and insights from the most inspiring entrepreneurs and leaders in the world. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by none other than Brian Smith, the founder of the iconic UGG brand. Brian started UGG back in 1978, introducing sheepskin boots to the United States and growing the brand from its humble beginnings to what is now a global billion-dollar phenomenon. But Brian's journey wasn't without its challenges. In fact, he's here today to share the pivotal lessons he learned when he made the difficult decision to step away from UGG early in its history due to a tough business partnership. Brian's story is one of vision, resilience, and reinvention, a journey that continues to inspire entrepreneurs around the world, and particularly yours truly. So let's dive in and hear from the man behind one of the most recognizable brands in fashion and lifestyle today. Brian, welcome to the Investing to Win podcast. It's an honor to have you here.
G'day, Garrett.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for honoring me on my podcast.
All right.
So, I'd like to get right into it. I saw you speaking on stage. I have had some bad partnerships. I don't want to really get into your complete story because I think it's well established. But I'd like to maybe concentrate, if you would, just on, you know, exiting UGG very early due to what you described as a bad business partnership. Could you
Right.
kind of tell us more what led to that decision and the lessons that might have brought?
Sure. The root cause of me having, you know, partnership issues was that I really didn't understand finance, and my business was doubling every year and just sucked cash. And I being in a, as a CPA, thought, well, next year I'll just double the sales volume and it would solve all my problems. But it really didn't. It just got worse and worse and worse. And so there were several times that I would have a partner that was going to fund the next stage, and they thought they were in it for life, right? And we'd double the sales, and so I'd need, okay, now I need, instead of 2 million, I need 4 million this year. He said, well, I don't have $4 million. And so I had to find somebody who did have 4 million, and he didn't want the previous investor, so I'd have to buy out the previous one on some sort of deal and then bring the next one in. And so I was the meat in the sandwich a couple of times, just purely because of my success, right? And my lack of understanding of forecasting and financing. So fast forward to when we're doing about, 8 to 10 million, and I had this same situation again. It was a guy that I really liked, another Australian guy, and he'd done very, very well for himself, had the money, and I chased him for a year trying to say, Alan, you should invest with me. The company's really going off. And he would say, Brian, I love you, but I wouldn't see you again till you needed more money, right? There was some truth to that, because I was a bit of a wild flyer. But eventually he said, Brian, listen, there's this guy I know. He used to be part of this accounting firm in the hospitality industry, and he's agreed to come on and look over your shoulder and look after the finances. And so if you're okay with that, I'll fund the next round. And so I thought, wow, great, this guy, I'm a Pollyanna. I always think everybody's going to be great and do the right thing, right? So I welcomed him in, and it was like 6 months later, I found out that the accounting firm that he'd been part of, he like really executed a couple of guys on the way up and became the managing partner, blew it up by bringing on all these new partnerships, and the whole thing imploded within 2 years. And he was 100% responsible for it because he was narcissistic. He was he didn't really understand the principles of building a business. He just thought you buy profits, you know?
Right.
And so it became a year or two where everything I did became a target for him to undo, right? And he would then try and galvanize support from, a lot of my loyal supporters got, compromised into his way of thinking. And I just stopped enjoying the business. I loved the product. I loved my customers. As much as I could be out on the road, I was, but it didn't stop all this shit happening inside the office. And
Right.
so eventually it got to the point where he was about to do some really bad, devastating things that would have been devastating to the company. And I happened to run into a friend of mine who had taken his company public with Tiva sandals. And
Okay. Yeah.
his company was doing about 70 million, and they went public on that. And when I met him in the baggage claim at Atlanta Airport, of all places, I knew that he had about 30 million in the bank, and his company died every winter and we died every summer. And so I thought, I don't think the company's going to survive if I try to do another year with this guy in it. Here's my chance to cash out now, save the company, save the value of the company, and actually get cash for it. And so, I walked up to my buddy Doug and we high-fived, and I said, if ever we're going to do this, now's the time, And so we had the accountants talking to each other that afternoon back in California, and the thing got consummated in like October. So it was about 6 or 7 month due diligence process, and we all walked away from it with a lot of cash, and I saved the company. And I really didn't want to get out of it, but I could not stay in it with this guy because he would have killed it.
Yeah, you must have had, I'll ask you about emotions, conflicting emotions. When you
Yeah,
look back now, I mean, who knows, right? You could have stayed in, it could have been nothing, right? It could have died
yeah.
as you predicted. And now it's this, multi-billion-dollar phenomenon. What do you feel when you look at what UGG has become today?
Oh, I love it. I sold out at the right time in a lot of ways. But do you remember my book? I think I talked about the birth of a brand, and
Hmm.
the theme of it is you can't give birth to adults, right? Because
Yeah.
everything starts with conceiving it, then the first action is the birth, and then it goes through this infancy and then toddling, youth, teenage, and every company goes through this. There is no overnight success. Every single company goes through this. And I ran the company for 19 years, and I look at it now as I started the company, I conceived it, I gave birth to it. I went through all those horrible early, infancy days. Remember the bad advertising and all that
Yeah.
crap
Yeah.
that I went through. And then, I was able to get into the youth phase where we made a lot, that was like from 3 million to 15 million was that youth. And then we became a teenager, and I look at when I had to sell it as walking my daughter down the aisle and handing it off to Decker's Outdoor Corporation, which was the public
Right.
company. And I knew that they would then go out into the world and have babies and, multiply. And so in a very, fatalistic way, I was witness to the most of the lifetime of UGG. And what it's done since is quite remarkable. When I sold the company, I remember telling the new sales force, hey, this is a great brand. I see this as being a $200 million company, and they all just groaned like, oh, who does he help? Teva's only 60 million. What is he talking about 200, And now I think it's the third year it's been at 2 billion,
Yes,
So,
it
yeah,
has. It has.
no one would have seen that. I didn't see it coming.
No. So I mean, so what you're saying is it's pride. That's amazing. Um, I always ask and finish off my podcast with a question. Same question to every guest. I know my listeners are just dying to hear what you have to say.
Oh God,
So
I hate these questions.
come on, you can do it. You can do it. Brian Smith, this is the Investing to Win podcast. How do you define success, and what does winning look like for you?
Oh, that's great. Success is getting up every day and being happy with where you're at. Has nothing to do with financial. It does have financial element to it, but you could be the richest guy in the world and be the most miserable bastard. You could have no money and live on a beach and love life, but then you're always wishing you're going to get an airfare back to the mainland to see. It's very hard to have everything. But how long do we have? How long? 2 minutes.
About, yeah, not
Yeah.
only maybe 30, 45 seconds left.
Yeah.
So yeah, no pressure.
Listen, we're all so individual that the most important thing is not to sit around comparing yourself to the next person.
Yeah.
Because you'll never, ever be happy. You have to be content with who you are. Know that there's still a shitload of potential within you to do anything that you want, but just acknowledge where you're at and love it, and love people, family, friends. That's really where the true wealth is, in all the people that you can say that love you.
Love it. Well, Brian, thanks so much again. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, and wish you best of luck. And I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.